wanna talk? So let's talk. Yeah. Talk. You wanna talk? You gotta talk, you need to talk. News talk.
I talk, you talk to Solomon. I talk, you talk to Solomon. Yeah, let's talk to Solomon. Talk to Solomon.
You gotta talk.
Welcome, my friends. It's Talk to Solomon time. Thanks so much for joining us. My name is Stan Solomon. I'm the host.
I'm Chief Steve Davis, the in-studio co-host.
And Chief Steve is a law enforcement professional of many, many years. And joining us is a military professional, Major General Jerry Carrey, U.S. Army retired. General, good evening.
Good evening. Good to see both of you.
Always a pleasure, sir. General, we have a very serious, well, I assume serious circumstance in that we have a overweight moron who's in charge of a country that is subservient to lunatics, who is allegedly able to detonate and perhaps launch nuclear weapons, who is threatening to reinstitute war, all the while, parading around like Porky Pig in a B-grade cartoon. It's almost surreal, but we're sending stealth bombers, we're sending Navy warships, we're sending Patriot missile batteries, we're sending American troops. What the hell is going on?
Well, the Chinese are deeply involved in this, as you know. And they are the ones who, if they wanted to, could shut down North Korea just overnight. But the Chinese want the North Korean government to stay in power, not to be as bellicose and belligerent as it is, but they want them to stay in power. And the idea is that the Chinese would like to use them as a buffer between China and the U.S. forces and the U.S. interests. And so that's what's going on up there. But as far as Kim Jong-un is concerned, that guy is an absolute lunatic. There's no telling what he will do, what he will say, where he will go, what he's up to. I don't even think the Chinese really know what he's up to. This guy has got all sorts of, I think, personal and mental problems. And we just have to be very, very careful how we approach this guy. And if we have to take him on militarily, we need to go for the juggler.
Now, it's been said, and I'm sure it's been verified, that the Chinese are massing troops on their border with North Korea. Now, one doesn't know if that's if necessary, to go in and take over that country, or it's to keep 1 million North Koreans from running to China, although many have already. What is your suspicion there?
My suspicion there is that the Chinese are amassing troops and will not use them unless it looks like the North Korean regime is just fallen apart and dismantled itself, and then they will come in to restore order in the country, or if necessary, even to take a couple pot shots at South Korea.
Can you imagine? Chief, your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are, if we rewind the clock, back in the 1950s, we fought the Korean War once before. And General Douglas MacArthur was very brilliant in his strategy, and he took all of Korea. All of Korea was won by the United States of America. He actually got into China and called back on the radio and said, you know what, hey, I'm in China and they're throwing rocks and sticks at me. Would you like me to make China free as well, or take China as well? And he was called back because here's the formula. The formula is that wars are started by politicians, fought by mostly young, brave men, and ended by politicians. So even though our soldiers and our military leaders and generals fought that war and won that war in Korea, the politician, a Democrat by the way, gave back to the communists north of the 38th parallel. So all that's happening today should not be happening because we already won that war once. But my thoughts further are we should just bomb the heck out of the 38th parallel and tell all the North Koreans, you can come on south if you want to, take over North Korea and let the South Korean government run it and make it one country again.
Well, I like that thought, but I can't imagine the Chinese would sit idly by while that was going on, General.
They won't sit idly by. They will follow up, Chief, just exactly what you said, just as they did at the Yalu River when MacArthur had driven the Chinese, the North Korean forces all the way up to the Yalu River, and the Yalu River, of course, is the border between North Korea and China. And then once our troops got up there and started threatening and showing up along the Yalu River, the Chinese crossed the river with their forces and drove us back to the 38th parallel. And my guess is if they have to, they will come across the river again. And if necessary, they will again drive any North Korean and U.S. forces back south along the river.
Now, it's, 60 years ago that took place. Today, there's not going to be any land campaigns. This war will be fought with drones and ICBMs and automated Star Wars type stuff. We're not going to see tank battles. I just can't imagine that. Even though the North Koreans specialize in using axes to destroy a 1 or 2 or 3 or 10, the fact is the United States could push 3 buttons and there'd be no China, much less North Korea.
Yeah, that's true. There would be no more China, but you stop and think about it and ask yourself this question, say, what is it that the Chinese have in excess that others don't have, the other military people do not have? And the answer is they have bodies, they have people, they have soldiers. So while it's true that we can just push buttons and do all sorts of things, they're not going to do too much of that, because what they have that's expendable is Chinese civilians as soldiers. And they will send them over and get them killed, and they think that helps reduce the population of their government.
Well, the last time I checked, a drone suppository strategically placed in Beijing might impact, some of the Western-suited politicians in China.
Yes, that's true. But I got to tell you, you don't mess. It's like Russia. You don't mess around with China unless you're deadly serious, and you make every effort and every attempt to stay out of a showdown with those folks. If they want to come out here and parade their soldiers and make noises and all that stuff, and then go back and sleep in their camps, that's fine. But if we actually get to the point where there's an American soldier killed by the Chinese, or vice versa, my friend, we are going to have a mess on our hands. And we've got a president who hasn't got a clue as to how to handle a war.
Well, we could take up a collection and buy him some balls, but the fact is that wouldn't affect the vacuum between his ears. He cannot lead a one-man parade to the bathroom. There's no there. Everyone knows that. But leaving that aside for the moment, that's a big thing to leave aside. The fact is, did I insult somebody?
No,
I tried.
No, you made me chuckle.
Okay, but my point is that China knows that if we take out China, we save a couple $1 trillion, if nothing else, because we don't have to pay them. But the reality is that China, with all of its human resources, does not have the ability to keep up with us in a tit-for-tat showdown type of nuclear contest, right?
No, wrong. They've got bodies, and they'll put them on every square inch of ground that they have. You can do anything you want with fighter planes and armed helicopters, Navy ships, all that sort of stuff. But if the Chinese swamp the whole northern part of Korea with bodies, and then turn those bodies south, there's no way. There's so many of them, you can't kill them all.
Not with bullets, and not with artillery rounds, but you certainly could with nukes.
You don't want to do nukes. Once you start nukes with China, China has the ability to put nukes on the United States, on the mainland.
They have the ability if you give them the opportunity to launch.
Well, I can't answer the question, but I just tell you, I've spent a lot of time in foxholes and in jungles and all that sort of stuff, and my experience is none of this stuff turns out the way the planners think it will, and the great strategists think it will, and sometimes it's all wrapped up and around one like General Patton. If we hadn't had Patton, we would have lost the Battle of the Bulge.
Well, I'm not disagreeing with you, General, because you obviously know, and there's not even an argument with that. My point is that with China and their philosophy, you know, the only difference between the Chinese and the Muslims is the Chinese aren't into suicide bombings. But they both have exactly the same game plan to dominate the world.
Yep.
And you don't see a lot of Muslim uprisings in Chinese-held areas because they just line them up and shoot them all. They just kill them right now. They don't bother with anything. They just kill them all. And one thing about Muslims, they may be stupid, but they're not crazy. They don't go where no one gives a damn about them and won't listen to their crap. They'll go where you have morons like we have here in the United States that'll say, oh, a lot of them are nice. No. None of them are nice. Some of them are not active, but all of them will side with Allah if push comes to pull. That's their religion.
Yeah, listen, I'm with you completely. I believe that. I've always believed that. If you really want to take on the Muslims, you're going to have to take them on. And it's William Tecumseh Sherman was once asked toward the end of the Civil War, he was asked, is there any hope, is there anything we can do for the southern part of the United States? And his answer was yes. He said, we can kill them all and repopulate.
Chief?
I want to comment on something the General said. He said that oftentimes what the planners anticipate doesn't come true. And he's right, because the planners that create the battle plans for the military activities are the generals of the military. But then the politicians get involved and screw it all up. So the real planners, who are the military, could accomplish the mission if the politicians would get out of the way. Once the politicians say we need a military action, they should stay back until the military have finished their plan of attack.
Yep.
But they always stick their nose into it, and they mess it up and ruin it because they're not soldiers, they're not military leaders, they're politicians. They don't know what the hell they're doing. I don't believe Barack Obama could even put on a military helmet the right way. He'd have it on backwards, lickety-split.
I think you're right, Chief. That's been my experience. Exactly what you're saying. You do it, you lay it out, you go for it, and then the politicians get involved and get messing around with it. And of course, that was the reason why people like MacArthur didn't do too well in the Korean War.
Let me ask about the comment made by the head of Iran's forces. He said the American empire will fall this year. Now, Iran is run by demented, sick, twisted, phony baloney, quote-unquote religious leaders that couldn't, find their behind with both hands.
Yep.
But they have shown that they're willing to do things that civilized human beings wouldn't do, both to their own people and to any and all other people. I full well expect that Iran has worked with, planned with, talked with, coordinated with others, China, Russia, and others, to try and suck America into a conflict that will initiate when they attack Israel, and then to attack America with the idea of killing almost everyone. I think that's their game plan. Now, am I just completely off?
I sure pray you are. I hope you are. I hope you're completely off. What you're saying makes an awful lot of sense. And you may not be off, but listen, those people will kill anybody. They will fight anything. These are people who take their own people and cut off arms and legs and hands and heads and all that sort of thing, who rape women, who destroy families. My goodness. Why in the world we even want to be involved with them, I will never know.
Well, there are a lot of good people, many of whom have paid the price, the ultimate price, by standing up when Barack Obama, may he rest in pieces, wouldn't be a man, wouldn't be a leader, wouldn't be a president, and let those Iranians who were trying to kick out those lunatics, just let them be slaughtered.
Yep.
And yet he jumped in there for the Egyptians and for the Tunisians and for the Muslim Brotherhood.
Yep. And he did, when this all started with the Arab Spring, I must tell you that, not that I'm any fortune teller, but I must tell you that when it started, I turned to my friends and I said, we're going to end up with the Arab Brotherhood running Egypt. That's where it's going. That's the problem we're facing with Syria. All of the talk that we have about we need to help those people who were fighting there, the whatever you call the freedom fighters, I guess. We need to help them fight against Assad. The answer is, if Assad leaves that country, it will go the way of Egypt. That's the plan that they have for the Middle East.
For all of the Middle East, their game plan is to create the quote-unquote caliphate. And I don't know if it'll be centered in Saudi Arabia or centered in Iran. Those are the two basic camps, Sunni and Shia. But that's what this is all about. And whoever wins, we lose, right or wrong.
Absolutely. That's the program. The program is we lose, we lose, we lose. And if you go back to North Korea, that's the way the Chinese see it. They don't see it in terms of trying to console or work with the North Koreans. They see it in terms of, let's have a scenario where in the end, the United States loses.
All right, let's kind of shift gears a bit, although we haven't really... I think I have a suggestion as to how to move forward, and that suggestion would be that we need to pick a, whatever you want to call it, a country, a group, and say, you're not good, but you're better than them. So we're going to help you to win, and then we're going to control you. If you don't like that, we'll just kill you, pick another group, and we'll do it with them. And I think that whether it's the Saudi family, who doesn't like us at all and has caused many Americans to be hurt or killed, that we've given the wealth we've given to these people is insane and irrational and illogical, and hasn't helped anyone but a relatively small group of people who are, the ultra rich. And I think that we have to, because if we do nothing, and maybe that's where I'd like comments from both of you, if we do nothing about China, if we do nothing about Islam, if we do nothing about any potential terminal problem, then it's not if, only when it will overwhelm us. We're going to fight China to the death. The only question is theirs or ours. We're going to fight Islam to the death. The only question is theirs or ours. Chief?
Well, the scary part of all this is our commander-in-chief, because we've already talked about his ineptness, and I've been corrected by our staff. I said he couldn't put his helmet on backwards, and they've told me it's either a Nazi helmet or a turban he'd be wearing. But Barack Obama was raised as a Muslim. He went to Muslim school as a child. He went to college and was taught by the best communists that we have in this country. It's obvious from his religious experiences that he's been taught nothing but hate America his whole life, and he hates America. And so the thought of him siding with us is really ridiculous. He's going to side with the Muslim countries. That's why, if you look at what he's done, you mentioned how he let these other regimes take over in the Middle East. He thinks they're the good guys. They're the freedom fighters and we're the bad guys. So part of this equation has got to be getting a commander-in-chief that will support America, support American interests, and protect us from them.
There are provisions in the United States Constitution for a president to be, quote unquote, relieved by a vice president or by the cabinet, or for that matter, by the Congress. Well, the vice president is, Clarabelle the clown. The cabinet is made up of a bunch of wacko Marxists, and the Congress, there isn't sufficient backbone to, to say amen or say grace. So I don't see any scenario in the next 3 3/4 years, or 3 2/3 years, that would save us from what Barack Obama, I believe, wants for us. Do you, General?
Not in terms of political parties, but we just had this the young Senator Rand Paul, who stood up by himself and for 13 hours filibustered, and finally the president and his administration backed down. If we had a half a dozen of those kinds of guys who would stand up to everybody and to be counted in the world and would work on our wonderful president, I think they could hold the line between now and 3 years until we could really vote in somebody who could take over this country and run it like it's supposed to be run and saved. The problem you have is that we're talking about real leadership. These people, and I'm talking about the good people in Congress, don't have a clue as to what real real leadership is. That's the guy who gets out of the foxhole, stands up on the hill, the bullets are flying all around him, and he looks down at these guys cowering in there, says, "Get out of those holes, get up here beside me, and together we're going to take this hill and run the enemy off." And that's exactly what he does. And that's the kind of leadership that we need. We need that kind of strength. We need fire. We don't have fire. We don't have strength. And they're nice guys, and they're delightful people. And I like John McCain and all that sort of stuff. But those are not the people that you want to charge on Pickett's charge at Gettysburg.
Chief?
No, I agree totally, and I'm thinking about this program. We got two great candidates right here, General Carrey and Alan Keyes, and they should both run. I would love it.
Well, that would be one heck of a ticket. Alan Keyes and Major General Jerry Carrey. And by the way, I have certain talents that I would lend to that administration. I can, shall we say, make certain individuals turn in ways that will be harmful for their future. And I thought I said that kind of well.
I thought you did too.
Speaking of well, there's a fellow named Jim Carrey, who's a 51-year-old performer, typical leftist liberal, Hollywood, that's been blessed in many ways and uses those blessings to mock right and God and morality and the like, who was just embarrassed once again by a major flop, and was he was outdrawn by a 58-year-old movie that has been seen by everyone alive at least 9 times, and that's the 10 Commandments with Charlton Heston. And I just think it's somehow interesting how God works. I have a feeling that we're going to see someday, perhaps this year, there will be a plague that will cross this country that will take out a fair number of individuals. I don't mean 100. I don't mean 1,000. I don't even mean 100,000. I mean a fair number. And after that happens, this country will be, well, a lot like a person who's eaten heavily who finally has an Obama movement. By the way, you take all the vowels out of Obama's name, you end up with a BM. You know that. I'm trying to be sensitive. All right, we're going to take a break while the general composes himself. We'll be right back with more right here on Talk to Solomon. You have a computer, if you're alive today, which means you have a hard drive, which means it's going to break down. Mosey, the backup people, for thousands, for Stan, for thousands of people, for tens of thousands of people, is simply common sense. You go to cpnlive.com, click on the icon for Mosey, the backup people, and sign up. It's just a few dollars a month. Let me tell you something. We had a break-in. They stole our whole computer. You know what? When they take the computer, you can't recover anything, but we had Mosey. We had the backup. We were able to restore everything simply by buying another computer. cpnlive.com, click on the icon for Mosey, the backup people, and give yourself common sense, peace of mind, great value, the best thing you've ever done. Sooner or later, it's going to be Mosey, the backup people. Hey, my name is Stan Solomon, and you know if I have something to say, I'll say it. And I'll only tell you the truth because I'm a Republican, not a Democrat. Democrats always lie. Republicans only lie half the time. I don't lie at all. This is the Fuel Mule. It's an extraordinary product that was developed by a friend of mine, an engineer, and it increases the fuel mileage on your vehicle. If you have a combustion engine, this will increase your mileage by 10 to 20%. It bolts around your fuel line. You can install it yourself or have your mechanic do it. It is an extraordinary item, and it flat works. I've been using it for more than 10 years. It's increased my mileage on every vehicle I put it on, and by the way, it will last forever. You can get rid of your vehicle, just take it off and put on the next one. Go to cpnlive.com. You'll have more information there. You can order it right there. We absolutely guarantee you'll be satisfied. The Fuel Mule. It's a way to kick down your cost of fuel and kick up your mileage. Don't you love the name? I thought of it. The Fuel Mule. Do you like being healthy? I do. In fact, this product, which I've been taking for years now, is absolutely the answer. Now, you may not believe it, but I'm actually 21, plus tax, of course. This product has 146 different healthful nutrients in it, and it's liquid, so it's bioavailable. It tastes great, and it's sugar-free. 1 ounce of Sonic Life each day will help you to maintain and enhance your health. It's a kind of a gift, well, that you'll thank your mom for, your husband for, your wife for, your kids for. Whoever you give it to, they're going to say thank you, and you are going to enjoy the benefits of having all the vitamins, all the minerals, all the nutrients your body needs in one very reasonably priced product. Just go to cpnlive.com, and everything's right there. You'll be able to read all the ingredients. The price is right there, a flat price delivered to your door anywhere in the United States of America. Sonic Life is a gift, a great gift. Give it to yourself. I do. I like to eat. Do you like to eat? We all do. And usually we run to the grocery store, we run to the convenience store, or we have something in the fridge. But power's been out in parts of this country in the last few weeks. We don't know what's going to come down the pike economically. Smart people are putting in food. Alpine Air Gourmet Reserves is a line of foods that you can put away that will last for a very long time. You know, they say eat what you store and store what you eat. This is great tasting stuff, healthy for you, a full line. You go to our website, cpnlive.com, and click on the button for Alpine Air Gourmet Reserves and see all the different things we have. This is good tasting food. It's reasonably priced. It will last. And it's worth its weight in gold if a problem arises. I know you don't think there's going to be anything that goes wrong. Actually, you do. This is smart. This is smart insurance. This is smart preparation. This is smart thinking. You have kids. You have a spouse. You have parents. You have dependents. You have an appetite. All those things can be addressed by a frugal but smart investment in Alpine Air Gourmet Reserves. Try them out. You will be tickled to death with the taste of them. You know what? In many cases, people start to eat this and they think, heck, this tastes better and costs less than what you're going to the grocery store to buy. cpnlive.com. Check it out.